Today, with the ringing of our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace in the world and at home. We acknowledge that these lands that we love are the unceded, ancestral, and historical lands of the Yavapai people. I love that sound. Good morning. I am Rhea Batterman, she, her, and I am your worship associate today. This morning's service is about how we can flourish together by choosing again and again to show up for one another. I absolutely know this to be true. Having the deepest loss of my life, my sister Tamara, the love expressed to me and my family by this congregation and community is irreplaceable. My heartfelt thanks to you all. I cannot tell you how loved we all feel. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It was so good to see so many of you at Pride yesterday. Happy Pride, y'all. I am the Reverend LaGrave, she, her, and I am the minister here at Granite Peak. If you are visiting with us for the first time today or are still kind of newish, I'd like to extend a very special and warm welcome. We are so glad that you are here. And if you want to raise your hand so that we know who to greet after worship in the social hour, yay! We also have 2 new members, which we'll formally welcome next week. I know at least one of them is here. Sue, you can raise your hand too. She just signed the book yesterday. Makes my heart happy. So normally this is where I roll right into my welcome to all. However, I've been troubled recently by a sign that I frequently see outside a local church on my path back and forth from home to here. It reads, "A place you can belong." Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? What troubles me about it, though, is that I feel fairly certain that I could not belong there without fundamentally changing who I am, without having to work very hard to try to fit in to who they are and what they believe. So, it makes me wonder, do I do the same thing when I share my weekly words of welcome here at Granite Peak? What do I really mean if I were to drill down deep into the words that I say? Who is welcome here? Is there anyone who is not welcome here? How could I be more clear? So I worked on a more comprehensive, though surely still imperfect, commentary. That's my little theological joke, calling it a commentary. So here it goes. Whoever you are, whoever your true, imperfect, authentic, and vulnerable self is, whoever you already know yourself to be, or whoever you are in the process of discovering or rediscovering yourself to be. Wherever you come from, wherever your ancestral or familial lands, whatever your cultural background or ethnic identity, whatever your racialized identity, whatever your socioeconomic backgrounds, however you were raised. Wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whether you are at the beginning or the end of your life, or anywhere in between, no matter how long or how brief your stay here at Granite Peak, whatever your history of right doing and wrongdoing, whatever trauma or crises or grief you have endured, whatever your religious background. Whether you walked in or rolled in or zoomed in, whatever your abilities or disabilities, no matter your presence here in person or online, today or at some point in the future, however you arrived here in this hybrid space and time, whichever your pronouns, whichever of the many gender identities that exist and you claim for yourself or are in the process of exploring for yourself. Whomever you love, whichever of the many sexual, romantic, or asexual identities you claim for yourself, you are welcome here. You as in whichever identities you hold, you as in whoever you are at your very core, your most authentic self. You belong here. You who can wholeheartedly welcome all others as you yourself have been welcomed in. You are not only welcome here, you have found a place you can connect, a place you can find meaning and purpose, a place where you will not be asked to change who you are in order to fit in, a place where you can belong. You who are challenged by self-worth, you who struggle to find a place of belonging, you belong here. Hopefully, that is now more clear. So let us light our chalice.
I told you I like that sound. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is my dear friend, Nancy Beeson. Oh, there you are. Stay. Stay. The chalice words today are by Deborah Falk. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness, This tiny flame is a symbol of the spark of all this within each of us. Thank you.
On this most ordinary of days, you arrived here, in this most extraordinary of places, a place where you can be both known and loved, seen and heard, accepted and affirmed, a place that is still and always will be imperfect, a place that is beloved community in the making, a place that is evolving, a place that is in process, just as we all are. A spiritual oasis, a place where you can flourish. Welcome to worship. Welcome to Granite Peak. Let us celebrate the opening of our service by rising in body and spirit and singing number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Oh, sorry. Trying to take over.
Let us join together in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, thus do we covenant together. Your turn.
As we prepare to receive the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have with each other when we gather each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is MIP, the Museum of Indigenous People. You could read about them if you have not heard about them in the weekly or wherever you get your information. Each Sunday, half the plate offering as well as designated checks are given to the local organization helping others. If you'd like your entire check to go to Seeds of Support, be sure to write that on the memo line. If you'd like to contribute online, please visit our website at prescottuu.org. Thank you. Where are the... Okay, guys, we could pass. Hello? Okay. Thank you. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received with gratitude. Amen, and blessed be.
I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation. Please find a comfortable place in your seats, a way to ground yourself, to connect to the earth, which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in. For this morning's meditation, I'm going to share a poem called Desert Flowers. Improbably, the wind-blown seed found its way here, to a long, beautiful stretch of land, but one that was hot, dry, and arid. A spark of life resting in an unprepared desert. Quenching life-giving sustenance, the rain comes and goes, even if infrequently, sometimes only a few drops at a time. And the seed begins to take root, possibility brought alive. But what life is this amidst the harshness? Pocket mice, rattlesnakes, camel spiders, danger, and inhospitality lurking everywhere. One chance encounter gone wrong could bring death to the seedling. And yet, somehow, the intrinsic invitation to thrive, to flourish and grow finds a way, even when it is a struggle, poking gently up from the cracked, parched desert earth. A beautiful pink 5-petaled phacelia blooms, spectacularly, improbably. We are those wind-blown seeds, the universe's longing for life, for thriving, for beauty, even when it is against the odds. Together, let us enter into the silence. Amen, and blessed be.
Beloved community is at the heart of Granite Peak, UU congregation. As we experience this time of meditation and music, may we take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns on our hearts and minds. If there is an event that moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, grief or remembrance, you are invited to come forward and drop a petal or 2 or 3 from this dish into the communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. I am going to drop the first stone in honor of my sister, Tamara Gold-DeVos, who I will miss for the rest of my life. Thank you, Lena. That was beautiful. May our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal water of a beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be. Now we do Spirit of Life. This is a reading that I found that I thought would be apropos for today's sermon. It's called Teamwork by Edgar Albert Guest. It's all very well to have courage and skill, and it's fine to be a counted star, but the single deed with its touch of thrill doesn't tell who the man you are. For there's no lone hand in the game we play. We must work for a bigger scheme. And the thing that counts in the world today is how do you pull with a team? They may sound your praise and call you great. They may single you out for fame. But you must work with a running mate or you'll never win the game. Oh, never the work of life is done by the man with a selfish dream. For the battle is lost or the battle is won by the spirit of the team. You may think it's fine to be praised for skill, but a greater thing to do is to set your mind and set your will on the goal that's just in view. It's helping your fellow man to score when his chances hopeless seem. It's forgetting self till the game is o'er and fighting for the team.
Our Soul Matters theme for this month is flourishing. That might feel like kind of an odd theme these days when we are living in the midst of a national and global crisis, and it feels like the world is on fire. How can we flourish in such a setting? We are, after all, interdependent. Even if we want to or try to stick our heads in the sand like a stork, it doesn't really work. We still can read and feel and sense the danger signals that are coming from all around us. They still impact us and impact our spirits. So how can we flourish in this kind of setting, in this world that we find ourselves? A couple months ago, I spoke to you about the work of a researcher named Margaret Wheatley and how she talked about islands of sanity. I'm still a little iffy on the sanity part of the term. I just feel a little sensitive about people who have mental health diagnoses and might feel uncomfortable with it. But in any case, that is the term that she uses. She says that we are in a global civilization collapse right now, and that what we can do in the face of such a collapse is create these islands of sanity. And I suggested that Granite Peak might be one of these islands. In conversations afterward with some of you, we determined that it would be much more appropriate for Granite Peak in the middle of this high desert wilderness that we live to be an oasis. And we would continue to work on what we might say instead of sanity. So I'm suggesting we are a spiritual oasis, that Granite Peak is a spiritual oasis. So that leaves us with a question of, what does a spiritual oasis look like, feel like, act like? Margaret Wheatley suggested 3 things. That a spiritual oasis is generous, creative, and kind. Today I'd like to bring some more into that. I'd like to talk about the work of Brene Brown, who is a professor at the University of Houston, and her specialty is doing research in the area of psychology. And she has come forward with something called a braving inventory that people can use as part of their conversations to create. She didn't have the term island of sanity or spiritual oasis, but she was, I think, doing work mostly within the context of workplaces. But I'm going to suggest that it could also apply to a spiritual oasis like Granite Peak. So what is braving? Braving stands for 7 aspects: boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. The first one is boundaries. So setting boundaries is making clear what is okay and what is not okay and why. So that was part of what I did at the beginning of the service today, when I expanded upon my welcome and what it means to welcome people and who is welcome. What I did not say is who is not welcome, because it's not really about people that we set our boundaries around. It's not around their identities, at least, or their histories, or who they are in many ways. But we do set boundaries around behavior. We do expect that people will come with good intentions and enter into at least an aspiration of right relationship, knowing humans are imperfect and things do and will go wrong, and then we work on them from there. But we begin with good boundaries. What's okay, what's not okay, and why. A variety of beliefs are okay. Not just okay, welcome. We thrive on a variety of beliefs, on our value of pluralism. But we would also not say you can believe anything you want, right? There are people who would say that genocide is the right way to fix the world's problems. But that is not welcome here, right? That is not what we are about. We are about goodness, about creating a world that is better than the world that we live in today. We would also say that destructive behavior within our congregations is not acceptable. And we would work with people to bring them into right relationship with the rest of us. We have many different ways that we can do that, but it's really the behavior we're talking about that is not welcome, right? So a variety of beliefs, all toward the good and appropriate behavior that aspires to be in right relationship with the rest of the congregation and staff. The next one is R, reliability. You do what you say you'll do, and you don't overpromise. That can be a little tricky, right? We are a congregation filled with Energizer bunnies. Sometimes we take on too much. Brene Brown says that one thing that we can do to address this area of reliability is really to look inward and know ourselves, to think about what are our strengths, what are our challenges, what are we good at, what are our limitations. I would add to that those things don't stay static over the course of our entire life. Not only do we develop new skills, we also enter into times of grief or trauma or crisis, and sometimes we have to scale back because right now what I or my family or friends are going through is a lot more than usual, right? So we pay attention to what are our abilities and what are our limitations, and that can help us to not overpromise. We might have good intentions saying that we will do A through Z when we can really only accomplish A through F or whatever it is, right? So reliability, do what you say you'll do and don't overpromise. The next one is A, accountability. You own your mistakes, you apologize, and you make amends. You are going to make mistakes, every single one of you. I am going to make mistakes. Our leaders, our staff people, all of us are imperfect human beings who make mistakes, and that is totally okay. We just need to create a community in which it is normal to make mistakes and accepted to make mistakes, and normal to apologize, and normal to make amends in whatever ways might be appropriate. We just have to normalize this as part of our culture. The next one is vault. She was really working hard to make braving work. I'd really rather this one be a C for confidentiality, but that's really what she's talking about. That we don't share information or experiences that are not ours to share. That when we get together in our small groups, or when we get together, maybe we take a moment with another person in our little library off of Davis Hall because we're going through a rough time and we share what we're going on, then it's that person's story to share, right? We allow them to choose how, if, how, when, and where those stories get shared. We are reliable also in our keeping a vault. Cone of silence, sometimes people call it. It's important because when we can do this, when we can keep confidentiality in appropriate ways, and I'm saying appropriate ways because there are some things that are shared with more than one person. There's a very small team that works with some accounting numbers and might know what pledge amounts are because it's necessary to do the work of the congregation. So the confidentiality doesn't go outside of that small group. There's a very small staff here in which Pastoral issues might arise and might need to be shared in a very limited way, but that is another small group in which it might be appropriate. You have women's groups and a men's group in which you have a group that keeps confidentiality. So it's not always one-on-one, but we do pay attention to what's appropriate to share, when and how. And in that way, we also continue to build up more and more trust with each other and more ability to be vulnerable and to share from our own selves and our own lives. The next one is integrity. Practicing your values is what it boils down to. It's often said that UUs are a group of people of action. We are a people of action. We have values that we profess, but we don't just say them. We don't just believe in them. We actually act on them. And Brené Brown says, in doing so, one of the things we do is choose courage over comfort. In order to be a person of integrity, we choose courage over comfort. We choose what is right to do over what is fun or fast or easy to do. In order to act with integrity, often we need to slow down, pay attention to the process, and make sure that we are actually practicing our values, not just being mouthpieces for our values. The next one is N, non-judgment. I can ask for what I need, and you can ask for what you need. We can talk about how we feel without judgment. We can get up in front of the congregation while we are grieving and share our grief, and we can hold your grief with you. We can be with you in all of the things that come up in our lives, the joys and the celebrations, as well as the griefs and the sorrows. We can hold each other without judgment. It's okay to cry. It's okay to shout, "Preach it, sister." It's okay to do whatever it is that is on your heart and spirit in terms of expressing your emotions in the moment. The last one is G, generosity. I'm interested because somehow this one seems to keep coming up. It is one of our new shared values that we have covenanted with the UUA. It is also one of the 3 elements that Margaret Wheatley talked about in terms of creating islands of sanity. And now here we are with Brené Brown and more generosity. And I want you to think of generosity, hopefully, as a bigger container than either giving money or things. I mean, sure, giving money is part of that. Giving things to each other is part of that. Giving care to each other is part of generosity. Giving support to each other is part of it. But also, and maybe most importantly, because we are a faith tradition, a spiritual oasis, is generosity of spirit. That we can extend the most generous interpretation to the intentions, words, and actions of each other. Generosity of spirit. So now we have some ideas flowing about our island of sanity, our spiritual oasis. We are, Granite Peak is, I deeply believe this, is already a spiritual oasis here in this community. We do have so many of these elements present already. I think they're good to keep in mind, to remember that this is what we are aspiring to. There may be other frameworks we could look at as well, and that's okay. But we are already a spiritual oasis. People have already found refuge here, found respite here, found rest here. And we are still growing, still evolving, still learning, as all people and communities do. But why? Why do we do this? Why do we continue to work on ourselves instead of just stopping and saying, we're good enough the way that we already are, right? It is definitely a part of our religious heritage, starting probably way before, but most clearly within the 19th century, the Unitarians talked a lot about something called self-culture. Have you heard that phrase before? William Ellery Channing preached on it famously. Other big-name Unitarian preachers did as well. To my mind, it's sort of the early threads of thinking that led to the more academic field eventually of psychology. It was called self-culture and talked a lot about working on and improving ourselves. And Channing actually believed you don't just do that in your lifetime, you actually continue that in the afterlife. In the 20th century, we talked a lot about process theology, which, we kind of did a lot of things the same between the 19th century and the 20th century and put different theological words to it, right? Channing preached a lot about being a mirror to God, likeness to God. And in the 20th century with process theology, we talked a lot about God being in process just like we are in process. There was still this mirror image kind of thing going on, that we continue to grow and evolve and change. And of course, the field of science tells us the same thing, right? The moment we stop evolving, the moment we stop changing as a species, is the end. We'll die out. Evolution is necessary to life. So we continue to work on ourselves without this overarching white supremacist culture of striving toward perfection and all those other elements we have talked about at other times. We do this work of building this spiritual island, spiritual oasis, not just to retreat from the world, which is impossible really anyway, but to rest for a little while, to refresh, to rejuvenate, to restore our spirits, so that what we are doing in this very complicated world we are living in right now is not just surviving. It is flourishing. And like joy, flourishing is also an act of resistance. We need a safe place to learn how to grow and how to flourish and how to resist. Because we need it not only for ourselves, but also as something to offer all those people who have not yet found it and who need this as much as we do. We are a place to connect. I'm going to share one more quote from Brene Brown with you as I wrap things up. Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. When they can give and receive. Give and receive. How many people find it easier to give than to receive? It's true a lot of the times, isn't it? And some people probably find it easier to receive than to give, but both are necessary, a balance between the two. It might be easy to sign up for the caring team and bring dinners. Is it easy to speak up and say, hey, it would really help if somebody could bring me a meal? I just broke my arm, or whatever it is. We need to do both. We need to speak up and say what it is we need. All right, so I'm going to start that quote all over again because I went on a little tangent. Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. That is her definition of connection. It is a necessary element in our ability to flourish. We need one another. And I feel the spirit. I feel this sense of connection here at Granite Peak. I think that all of you do as well. We have a gift here, a spiritual gift to give and receive from each other, to connect with each other, and all those who are searching and haven't found us yet. May this gift, may this connection, this existence of ours as a spiritual oasis help us all to flourish. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. Now, let us rise either in body or spirit. And Russ is going to come up here and help lead us in song. We're going to do number 402, From You I Receive, and we're going to do it 5 times.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. You I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we give. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Extinguish the. Yeah. A little famished today. Where's my? Oh, there she is. Oh, you must forgive me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go now in peace, with love in your hearts, kindness on your lips, and compassion at your fingertips, blessing all others as you yourselves are now blessed. Amen, and blessed be.